Hola amigos, ¿cómo están? Hey guys, hope everybody's doing really well. Welcome back to another episode of the Language Tutor Spanish. Today, I'm going to talk about negation words. Negation meaning we don't do something. It's the negative side. So I'm going to start out by giving you a list of negation words in just a second. But this is another one of your great suggestions right there on the Language Tutor Facebook page. And I am reading those comments and trying to keep a list of things that would help you. So I'm trying to film those. So here we are. Someone made a great suggestion. Hey, let's do one on negation words. So here we are, and we're about to jump right into this lesson. So hope you got your cuaderno or your bolígrafo, pluma, ready to take some notes. Vamos a tomar apuntes, okay? And let's start out by putting a list of words that we've done in the past next to the negation words, okay? And I think this is going to start making sense to you. Okay, so first of all, there's the word siempre. Siempre, which means always. Next to it, we're going to put nunca, which means never. Okay, so we have siempre and nunca. Now, the next one is alguien, someone, and nadie, which you can imagine means no one. All right, now algo, which means something, and next to it is nada, which means nothing. Okay, and now alguno and ninguno. Alguno has a couple different translations. It can be some if you're talking about some particular object. And ninguno is kind of its opposite, meaning none, or it can be any in certain cases. But we're going to do some examples so that this will make sense to you. All right, up next, we're going to put two words together, y and o, and or. And then its opposite is ni, which is kind of like neither nor, neither and nor. We'll see some examples of that too. Last set we're going to put together is the word también, which means also, and tampoco, which is the opposite of that, which can translate a couple different ways into English. Neither is a good way to look at it to begin with. All right, let's just jump into some examples here, and we'll start seeing this all make sense. Before we get going, I want to let you know something about Spanish. Double negatives are okay. We don't do double negatives in English. We don't say there's not nobody, because then somebody's going to say, well, if there's not nobody, then that means there's somebody. And then you kind of roll your eyes, right? But double negatives actually are okay and acceptable and correct in Spanish. And you'll see some double negatives in just a minute. So when you see those go, you might have said, well, wait a minute, that's a double negative. It's okay, no problem. We're going to do that in Spanish. All right. Let's go back to that list I gave you a minute ago, and let's put it back up here on our screen. Siempre and nunca was the first one we talked about, and we're going to take them in sets. Those sets of words I gave you a second ago, we're going to take them in groups like this. So let's first talk about siempre and nunca. Now let me give you an example of siempre first. Mi hermana siempre llega a las 3. My sister always arrives at 3, okay? So, mi hermana siempre llega a las 3. So, what's the opposite of that? Someone never does something. So, here's a good one. Mi madre nunca cocina. My mother never cooks, okay? So, we can just say never, just like in English. But now, here's another way to use it as a double negative. No vamos nunca al supermercado. We never go to the supermarket. So if we've got another verb there, like someone does something never, we can put no up front and say, no vamos nunca al supermercado. And that's perfectly acceptable. So that works in Spanish, all right? We can put that double negative there. So that's a good example of how we're going to use always and never. All right, so put those two in your memory and start bringing them into your conversation and practice it. Let's go to the next set of words, which was alguien and nadie, someone and no one. All right, now, first of all, let's do an example of alguien. Alguien está llegando. Someone is arriving. Okay, alguien está llegando. Now we can do the opposite. Let's go back to a supermarket example there. No hay nadie en el supermercado. There is no one in the supermarket. Boy, this place is empty. Yeah, sometimes you go early in the morning and that's the way you feel. No hay nadie en el supermercado. So there is no one. Really what you're saying is double negative. There is not no one, but it works in Spanish, okay? So that's how you can use alguien and nadie together. Now let's go to that next set that we talked about a while ago, and that is algo and nada, something and nothing. Here's an example of algo, something. Hay algo en la caja. There's something in that box. Hay algo en la caja. Here's the opposite of that. No hay nada en la caja. No, there's nothing in the box. No hay nada en la caja. Double negative, okay, before and after, and that works perfectly. Now, here's another one with a different verb other than hay, okay? Ella no tiene nada. She has nothing. Put no in front of the verb, nada after. Ella no tiene nada. She has nothing. It's really what you're saying, but it works, okay? All right, now, we're going to go to the next set of words, which was this one, alguno and ninguno. This one is going to be the one that takes us the most time during this quick lesson here today, okay? Because I'm going to take alguno first. I want you to understand it because we really haven't talked about this word a whole lot in previous lessons, okay? So we're going to spend some time talking about how to use the word alguno, and then we'll do the opposite with ninguno. All right, now, we're going to change these two words. These words are going to change for singular, plural. They're also going to change for gender, all right? And we're going to bring in something that we did in our last lesson when we talked about the word bueno and malo, I believe it was. We talked about how sometimes we're going to drop that O at the end. I'm going to do the same thing with alguno and ninguno in some cases, all right? So let's just walk through it together. So let's first take alguno. Now, with this word alguno, before a masculine noun, it's going to change to this, algún. Now notice that accent on the U. Okay, this is really the only ones we have to worry about in terms of accents. So algún is going to be the form of this word before a masculine noun, okay? Here's an example. Algún día quiero ser maestro. One day, someday, I want to be a teacher. Remember, we didn't say a teacher, un maestro, because we don't put those determiners. We don't say a before occupation. We just say, I want to be teacher. So, algún día quiero ser maestro, okay? So that's an example how we would drop that O, put that accent on there, and just say algún. All right, we'll do the same thing with ningún in just a minute. All right, now we can add an A back in there because remember I said we have to make sure it matches for gender. So let's do a feminine version. Alguna noche, some night. Alguna noche vamos a un nuevo restaurante. We're going to go to a new restaurant, one that is new to us. We just talked about those nouns in front of, those adjectives in front of nouns, didn't we? So alguna noche vamos a un nuevo restaurante. We're going to go to a new restaurant. Maybe we need to break our routine a little bit. All right, that's an example of alguna. All right, now, when this word replaces a masculine noun, okay, it becomes, we just keep it alguno. That's when we're going to use alguno. No accent there. Here's an example. Alguno de ellos tiene que salir. One of you, you're saying some one of you, alguno de ellos, or them, I should say, one of them has to leave. Okay, so alguno de ellos tiene que salir. And I stumble over my words a little bit because it's not easy to translate back sometimes to English. You know, we have to pick the right words. But alguno, yeah, it means some, it can mean any, or some one of you in particular. So alguno de ellos tiene que salir. Now we can do the same thing when it replaces a feminine noun. It's going to be alguna. Probably guessed that already, didn't you? So I can just change that and just talk about girls and say alguna de ellas tiene que salir. Alguna de ellas tiene que salir. I don't know why, but one of them has to leave. Okay, now let's look at the masculine plural version of that, which is going to be, I bet you're guessing it already, algunos. All right, here's an example. Hay algunos en el gabinete. There are some in the cabinet. Okay, hay algunos en el gabinete. Flip that. I'm talking about something feminine now, plural. Same thing. Hay algunas en el gabinete. All right? So that's how the word alguno works. Now let's go to its opposite, ninguno. Okay, it was algún. Now it's ningún, just like we talked about it a minute ago. And yes, make sure you take a note of that accent right there on the U. Okay? Now, before a masculine noun, I want you to think of the word any in English. This is a good starting point for this word. Think of the word any in English, but in a negative way. There aren't any, things like that. So let's look at an example of this. ¿No tienes ningún lápiz contigo? You don't have any pencil with you? You have no pencil with you? It's kind of like a set of something and you don't have one of them. ¿No tienes ningún lápiz contigo? You're in class, come on, right? So that's an example of ningún. Now, we can do the same thing that we did a while ago when we're replacing a masculine noun. This is going to be ninguno, okay? When we're replacing a masculine noun. So I didn't have any. Somebody's mentioning something. Did you have this? No, I didn't have any. Okay, but I'm talking about a masculine noun. So that would be an example of how we could use ninguno. I could say, no tenía ninguno. I didn't have any, or I had none. It's really what we're saying. So no tenía ninguno. All right, we're going to do the same thing. You're probably just following along with me now in your head. We're going to do the same thing when we replace a feminine noun. No tenía ninguna. I didn't have any. Okay, and I'm using tenía, the imperfect, because it was ongoing in the past, is what I'm implying in this particular sense. All right? Now, the masculine plural form, you're already getting it. You're saying it right before me, I bet, right now. Ningunos. All right, here's an example. No tiene ningunos. You don't, I could be talking to él, ella, or usted. He didn't have any. She didn't have any. You didn't have any. No tiene ningunos. Now, here's an example of a full sentence, if we want to be specific what we're talking about. No tiene ningunos síntomas. Okay? He didn't have any symptoms, or she didn't have any symptoms, or you didn't have any symptoms, usted form. Now, notice you might be saying, wait a minute, síntoma has an AS. Isn't that feminine? Nope. This is one of those tricksy words, one of those troublemakers, right? He's like, hey, I'm going to be masculine, but I'm going to have an A. All right. So that's okay. That's why we're saying ningunos, because síntoma is actually masculine, okay? You might remember that from way back in our health-related episode. All right? We can use the same ningunas for a feminine plural, like this. Ella no tiene ningunas ganas de ir. Now you might be saying, what is ganas? Tiene ganas. That means you feel like something, or you have the desire for something. So, ella no tiene ningunas ganas de ir. That means she just has no desire to go. She just doesn't feel like going. Okay? Now, let's move to one more thing that I want you to think about in this lesson. There are some words that we call count nouns. Okay? Those count nouns are things that you can count. Here's some examples of count words. Houses, pencils, cars, markers, erasers. Those are what we call count nouns. So we can use count nouns just like we did in those examples that we were just talking about just now. But now we have some words that we can't count. Things that are just kind of collective nouns. They're together, they make one. You're saying, what are you talking about? A liquid. I can't count a liquid. It's just a liquid. Like water or milk or lemonade. Also, some other nouns we don't really count is sugar or money. Now, we can count dollars in particular, but if we're just saying money, that's just a collective, not countable noun. It's just the word money. Do you have some money? Do you have any money? Maybe bread, big loaf of bread or something that, it's not really countable. It's just some bread. That's a noun we don't really count. So you might be saying, how do we really use those? Well, we're going to use this little phrase right here, algo de. Algo de, something of. Let me give you some examples so you see what I'm talking about. All right, you know how kids are. They're always wanting to know what's in the fridge and the cabinets, right? And the kid says, ¿Hay algo de leche en la cocina? Is there some milk in the kitchen? ¿Hay algo de, something of? ¿Hay algo de leche en la cocina? Your response, sí, tenemos algo de leche. Yes, we have some milk. Okay, sí, tenemos algo de leche. Here's another example. Someone says, ¿Tiene ella algo de dinero? Does she have some money? She got some money with her. We would make sure. Sí, tiene algo de dinero. All right. Now we see how we do this in a positive, kind of affirmative way. Let's put up some negatives now. No nos queda nada de leche. Worry about that milk again. Here's the opposite. No nos queda nada de leche. Well, this is probably a new structure for you. No nos queda. Queda means stay or remains. Pretty much. And it can be used of what we still have, what's remaining. So no nos queda. To us, it remains nada de leche. So what we put it all together and we say no to begin with, that's answering the question, no. And now the next no is the one that negates the verb. It says the verb is not done. So no nos queda nada de leche. All right, so that's a good example of how we can use that in the negative. So bring in that phrase algo de and queda, remain, look that up, look at some forms of it. Here's another example really quick. We talked about money. All right, we're asking, does she have some money? No. We're saying no, and then put a comma when we're writing this. Answered the question, comma. Now, no tiene nada de dinero. She has nothing of money. She does not have any money. That's another way we can use nada to say she has none. Okay? So notice in that noun that we couldn't count, the milk a minute ago, we used queda, which is how much is remaining. And now we can also use nada for just something that doesn't remain. Okay? Now let's move on to those words that we said a while ago, y and o, and or, and ni, which means neither nor. Okay? Now, someone says, she doesn't want neither this nor that. That's where we're going to use ni. We're going to use it in both instances in the sentence. Okay? So, ella, here's an example. Ella no quiere ni leche ni limonada. She doesn't want neither milk nor lemonade. Okay, so you put ni in both places. Neither nor. So try to think in English, she doesn't want neither this nor that. And we wouldn't say doesn't want in English, but again, that double negative is okay. So ella no quiere ni leche ni limonada. All right, now, we've got one more thing. We're going to go back to that también and tampoco that we put up a while ago. The also and the other word, we're going to just show you how it works. And the tampoco is kind of like neither, either. All right, so here's an example. So, él no estudia mucho. He doesn't study a lot. Okay, so we're kind of laying down a foundation, saying a sentence, but now we're going to say, she doesn't study either. Ella no estudia mucho tampoco. Okay, so we've already established he doesn't study. That's kind of laying our first thought down. And now we're saying she doesn't do that either. Ella no estudia mucho tampoco. That's how we use también and tampoco. All right? Well, guys, look, that covers all of our negation words for this lesson. I hope this has really helped you out, and I hope that this really expands your conversation in Spanish, okay? And I hope that you're enjoying the lessons. I look forward to just bringing in more of your needs and what you're asking for, and just helping you progress in Spanish. And hey, don't forget to check out the Language Tutor Spanish podcast on your favorite platform, so you can practice with me while you're on the go. All right? I'd love to practice with you while you're driving the car or whatever you're doing. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast as well. Lots more great things coming out with the Language Tutor in the near future. So we look forward to all those things. And I wish for you, your family and friends, paz y bendiciones, peace and blessings. And I'll see you very soon in the next episode. Hasta pronto. Friends, thanks for watching the Language Tutor. If you have a question for me, feel free to leave it in the comment section below the video. And please click subscribe and the notification bell so that you'll never miss any of our language lessons.